Well, Jimmy, hopefully another 50K bonus for you, but I'm just curious, what are the emotions after a performance like that here in hostile territory?
Hey, man, coming out like that with the fans against me, the guy didn't make weight. Everything was against me. If I lost tonight, I felt like I was losing my job. I was going back to find a new job. That's not what I wanted. So this means the world to me, and most definitely, I feel like I'm going to get that 50K again.
When you say, everything that went in, like you mentioned your father in there, you thought you might lose your job, and then you see your opponent come in missing weight. Like, what's going through your head on this? Because you can control what you can control, but it seems like a lot of these outside things are kind of all coming in at you at the same time and fight week.
Oh, yeah, they do. And it's just got to keep our head on straight, keep pushing forward, and keep our goals in mind. I have 3 goals in 2024. And that's make over $100,000, get that new UFC contract, and I'm going to get me and my girl's 3-bedroom house. I currently live with Grandma and Grandpa right now. I've worked for everything to be here, to stay here, to prove I belong. And tonight, I overcame some steps that weren't looking too good for me. Overwhelmed the storm, overwhelmed the weight cut. Malcolm looked huge out there. He was a big 125er tonight. So I think the weight miss was a part of his strategy. That's just my own opinion. And I think it backfired. And to go out there and get the win and get the submission by head and arm, I'm just excited. And I can't wait to be back in this UFC octagon this year.
So just based on everything you just said, your goals, what went on, and the weight miss and everything, where does this win rank in your career?
It's got to be at the top now. UFC 297. In hostile territory versus the hometown guy. Got to kick off UFC 297. I've been in the UFC since 2020. When I fought Cody Durden, there was no fans. When I fought in the Apex, we had limited amount of fans. This is my first fight to come out here, have a full crowd behind me. I had to tell myself just to stay calm. We'll take everything in after, and that's exactly what I did, and I'm just glad I performed the way I did.
Looking at the actual fight, Malcolm came out pretty red hot in both the first and second round. Is that what you expected from him?
Oh, yeah. Malcolm's job was on the line. He's 2-4 in 6 UFC fights on a 2-fight losing streak, and he missed weight in this fight. He missed weight in his last fight. If the guy was going to keep his job, he had to finish me in brutal fashion, and that was his game plan. I don't blame him, but I wasn't going to let him do it.
Were you hurt at all in there? Because it looked like he had clipped you a few times when he was rushing, especially at the beginning of the second round.
Oh, I'm pretty sure his hands hurt worse than my face.
How close was that Von Flue choke at the end of the first round?
Oh, he was gurgling. He had less than 5 seconds. If I would have had a little more time on that clock, it would have been it. But if y'all watch that Tuesday night contender fight against Nate Smith, he was gurgling at the end of the second. He got finished in the third. Malcolm was gurgling at the end of one. He got finished in the second.
So final one for me. I know you laid out your goals outside of the octagon, but I guess do you have a name you want next, or when do you want to return to fight?
I want anybody the UFC will give me, but I want that Cody Durden rematch. I know he wants it. I don't need it as much, but since I left the UFC octagon, he built up some wins. He got into the rankings, so I want to take everything he worked for again.
Jimmy over here. Congrats on the win. What was it like going in there? You wanted to fight in front of a crowd, but obviously a different scenario this time with the crowd being against you. How was that whole experience for you?
Man, it was great. I'm still trying to take it in. They kind of confused me because if you were at ceremonial weigh-ins, I got more cheers than he did. So I was like, oh, this is going to be a pretty good night tomorrow. And then when I walked out, you could hear the boos. And I just took it all with a grain of salt, knew what I was here to do. And I'm just glad I was able to get in there and take care of business.
And in terms of, just getting this win, I know it's been a long road for you. Your last one was in 2020. I know there's been some gaps in between there, obviously with the retirement and all that. How does this win compare to maybe the debut that you had, which is, was a lot faster?
It's hard to compare it because the debut was a flying triangle. It was my debut. I was also supposed to fight 2 weeks before that. He had pink eye. We turned around. We did it again. We had 2 weight cuts. There's so much that goes into this, but bar none, this is the best win I've ever had to do it in somebody else's country, their hometown, kick off the card. I really, really appreciate the UFC, Dana White, Mick Maynard, Sean Shelby, all of them to give me this opportunity to come out here and fight this guy in his home country to kick off UFC 297 for a card like Sean Strickland versus DDP.
Was this the last fight on your contract?
unless they give me a new one.
Well, that's what I mean. You must be good about that performance, going back to the UFC after getting a finish. That's obviously something they like to see.
Yes, sir, most definitely. I am 2-2 in the UFC. 4 fights, never hit the scorecard. Don't plan on hitting the scorecard. And if I get that bonus tonight, 3 out of 4 fights, there's been a bonus. Alessandro Costa got a bonus. I got a bonus, and I plan on getting another one.
This last one for me. What do you got planned for the big win tonight?
I'm gonna go eat some pizza and drink some Bud Light.
Jimmy, right here. Behind you. Just a quick one from me. Did Malcolm say anything in regards to the weight miss, apologize for it, or say what had happened?
We passed each other the other day, and when he was coming up, I was like, "Did you make it?" And he said, "No, I was too tired." And I was like, "We're all tired." And he said a little comment back. I don't know if it was disrespectful or what it was, but I didn't hear it. All I knew is I got an extra 20% tonight, baby.
Thank you.
Jimmy, right here, right in the middle. When you say that the weight mess for Malcolm sort of backfired on him, obviously he lost the fight, but do you feel like it negatively impacted his performance, whether that's cardio or something else?
Actually, no, I don't think it impacted his performance at all. He came out very strong. He had a lot of power, and I think the thing that backfired on him the most is he's losing 20%, and he didn't get the win money.
After almost getting that Von Fleur, you feel like you almost got it at the end of the first round. How confident were you sort of on top early in the second that at some point in that round you'd get the tap or lock something up?
If you see how I reacted after round 1, I got up and I cheered. I got the crowd to boo me again. That's because they knew that their guy was not going to be confident going to round 2. Even though I got dominated round 1, I was very confident after I locked that choke up. When I locked it up again, I was going to finish him.
Jimmy, just going back to the weight cut, you mentioned the pressure you already had on your shoulders coming into this fight. Was the weight miss, did it take you some time to kind of just, here's another obstacle in my way, or was it something that it didn't play with your head as much?
No, it just told me that I knew that he had some quit in him, and all I had to do was find that quit out there. I have no quit in me. If I had some quit in me, I wouldn't have made weight. Thursday morning, actually, when I woke up, I was 6-7 pounds from making weight. I cut twice Thursday. I drank very little water. I didn't eat food for 30 hours to make weight. I went to bed Thursday night at 127.4, and I woke up Friday morning at 126. I would have liked that drink of water. I would have liked that, piece of bread. I would have liked something, but the win was way better.
Does this feel like a unique win in the sense of all the things that you had against yourself, and I mean just the reaction you had going out there, and here you came through all these obstacles? Does this win kind of set itself apart, just given it was such a different outcome if this doesn't go your way?
Most definitely, and round 1 was an obstacle as well. Started out real bumpy. I went for a crappy takedown. Then I got taken down. I got hit with a lot of big shots, and he was finding his way with me in there in round 1. But we have a 3-round fight. This is 15 minutes, and until that bell sounds or until the ref pulls you off of me, the fight is not over, and I'm not going to quit.
Hi, Jimmy, just right in front of you. We got to see arm triangle, obviously to finish. We got to see the triangle choke, Von Flick. Anything else in your arsenal you want to show off in the UFC in the future?
Oh, yeah, there's a lot more. And that Von Flick will be hit from bottom as well. I was going to hit it from bottom, but he went ahead and pulled over. And if he would have locked up guard, he would have had a better chance. When he rolled over, I knew I was going to finish that Von Flick choke if the bell wouldn't have sounded. But I'm a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. I'm the best 125 Jiu-Jitsu black belt there is, and I'm going to keep proving it every time I get in here.
And I wanted to ask, I know we've talked a lot about the emotion of this win and what it meant to you. Why is it so important for you to get those gloves to your father?
So when I started fighting, I was 17 years old. I dropped out of school to move down to Corpus Christi, Texas, where my dad was stationed in the oil field. We dropped out of school. He joined a gym with me. He took me to Full Contact Fight Academy in Corpus Christi, Texas with Hector Munoz. My dad joined with me in the gym. He paved the road for me. I didn't have bills. I didn't have nothing. I took everything for granted my father gave me. Over time, I ended up getting married, having kids. Me and my father's relationship kind of went south. Me and my brother's relationship went south. My brother was in every corner in every fight, just like my dad. And when drugs got involved, it affected our lives. And when it affected our lives, it affected the way I trained. It affected the way I looked at the sport. And when I retired and me and my father got our relationship back, it gave me the love for the support again. It gave me the love to have my dad there again. And the last 2 fights, y'all have seen my dad's been there. Unfortunately, I couldn't afford to bring my father to Canada with me. My other cornermen paid their way. I'm really blessed to have them to be able to pay their way to be here with me. And that's why the only thing I can do to give back to my dad for not being able to afford to bring my dad here was to give him the gloves that he deserves, to give back for something for him, to give me everything he gave me to get to where I'm at today.
One more in the front. You said you had the best jiu-jitsu in this division. So I guess what sets you apart from fighters like Pantoja and Makhaev and everyone that they rack up a lot of submission wins here in the UFC?
A lot of people they just don't have the jiu-jitsu that I have. A lot of people tell you in jiu-jitsu, position before submission, meaning you keep a position before you go for a submission, because if you lose it, you're going to be in a bad position. Well, my coach gets on to me. I know. No position before submission, but I'm submission all day. If y'all watch the Tuesday Night Contender, I will go for submission left and right. And people ask me, how do you describe your style? Well, if Khabib and Demian Maia had a baby, they would have Jimmy Flick. You got Khabib wrestling with my Demian Maia jiu-jitsu. I use my Khabib wrestling to get it to the ground. I dominate them, and I use my Demian Maia jiu-jitsu to sub them up.
One more right here. Now you have 17 wins, 15 by way of submission. Were you surprised by Gordon's decision to take you to the ground round 1?
Not honestly. I mean, he's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. I was honestly surprised on his defense on that triangle, because when I locked it up, I was like, money, it wasn't a flying triangle, but it was a triangle. And he had great defense. He proved he is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. But I think all the grappling in round 1, the triangle that choked him a little bit, the Von Flick that choked him a little bit, and that weight miss, it all added up in round 2. And I think that's why it's easier to hit that head and arm.
Congrats on the win.
Thank you.